about who I would be. I was 13 years old, and being 13, having that type of exposure, yeah, it was cool to go to Howard Homecoming with Puff. It was great to be able to go to Club USA or the Supper Club, with Puffy in that time, or the Tunnel. But these are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be.
Go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody.
That's not what I was there for. I was there because I wanted a career, man. So we would fight, we would tussle. More than often, I think Puffy would say, man, you gotta chill. Like, you just a little bit too intense. You gotta relax. Like, yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week.
You think fame is all about private jets, sold-out arenas, and glamorous red carpets? Think again. Beneath the surface of the music industry's dazzling exterior lies a much darker truth, one that's been whispered behind closed doors for years, but rarely brought into the light. Until now. Justin Bieber, one of the world's biggest pop stars, is finally breaking his silence. But this isn't just his story. It's a chilling account of what he saw as a wide-eyed teenager, navigating an industry ruled by power, manipulation, and silence. In a raw and emotional confession, Justin opens up about his early experiences around Sean Diddy Combs, experiences that left lasting scars. He doesn't just talk about the ways he felt controlled or pressured. He reveals what he witnessed happening to others, specifically to someone he looked up to, Usher. According to Justin, the studio wasn't a creative haven. It was a psychological battlefield. Day after day, Usher was pushed to his emotional and mental limits, subjected to toxic environments, shaped by powerful figures like Diddy and Clive Davis. What was packaged as mentorship, Justin now sees as coercion. The pressure, the verbal and emotional manipulation. It was all hidden behind studio walls, masked by fame, and buried under the noise of success. But now Bieber is done staying quiet. The truth is finally coming out. As Diddy sits behind bars, in a Brooklyn detention facility, facing serious federal charges including sex trafficking and interstate transport for illicit purposes, the spotlight is no longer just on him. It's on an entire industry that enabled him for decades. Social media is buzzing, with fans and truth seekers digging up old footage, interviews, and interactions that now seem ominous in hindsight. What once looked like quirky behavior or eccentric mentorship now feels deeply disturbing. Usher, who was just 13 when Diddy became his legal guardian and produced his debut album, is suddenly being seen not just as a breakout star, but possibly one of the earliest victims of an abusive system. Videos once dismissed as awkward now appear to hold coded cries for help. Studio clips, offhand jokes, even tense body language are being reanalyzed, and they're not aging well. With Justin's shocking account now in the public eye, it's becoming harder to ignore what was hiding in plain sight, a pattern of exploitation disguised as guidance. The story of Diddy's downfall isn't just about his crimes, it's about the broken system that protected him and the young talents who suffered because of it. And Usher, it seems, may have been caught in the crossfire long before anyone dared to speak up. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's the beginning of a reckoning. And the music industry may never look the same again.
Most kids are trying to figure out, how to be around, hot girls, pretty girls. I'm around grown women, and I'm seeing them do things and have experiences that I'm not quite ready for. And I think that he was just trying to show me the lifestyle. However, that's not what I was there for. I was there because I wanted a career, man. So we would fight, we would tussle. More than often, I think Puffy would say, man, you gotta chill. Like, you just a little bit too intense. You gotta relax. Like, yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week. I'm 13 years old, like banging on this man as though, I am the manager. I am the spokesperson for Usher.
Usher has long hinted that his early years around Sean Diddy Combs were anything but typical. For years, scattered across interviews and casual conversations, he's dropped remarks that once sounded like wild stories from a young star's fast-paced youth. But now, amid Diddy's explosive legal troubles and deeply disturbing federal charges, those same remarks hit differently. They're no longer just eyebrow-raising anecdotes. They read like red flags that were hiding in plain sight. In a 2004 Rolling Stone interview during the peak of his Confessions era, Usher said something that barely raised eyebrows at the time, but but now feels like a chilling confession. He described his time under Diddy's mentorship as being exposed to a totally different set of rules. He recalled the scene vividly, saying, "It's so hot in the industry, man," before describing what life inside Diddy's world looked like. According to Usher, Diddy's house was chaotic and hypersexualized. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it, or several people in a room having an orgy. You never knew what was going to happen. Back then, the media brushed it off as the exaggerated tales of a pop star reminiscing about his wild early days. But now, with fresh eyes and a very different public narrative unfolding, that story feels like an early warning sign, a child's admission that he had been thrust into an adult world far too soon. What's even more unsettling is that Usher was just 13 when this chapter of his life began. He had just been signed to Layface Records, and it was obvious to everyone that he was destined for greatness. But instead of being eased into stardom through the usual artist development channels, Usher was handed over to one of the most powerful men in music, Diddy himself. At just 14, Usher wasn't just mentored by Diddy, he moved in with him. He left behind the structured world of teenage life and was plunged into Diddy's high-speed, no-rules reality. Diddy had a name for the experience, Flavor Camp. At the surface, it might have sounded like a creative boot camp, a playful title for an intensive music program. But according to Usher, the reality was far more intense and far less innocent. He's since spoken openly about how the environment was overwhelming, filled with things no young teen should be witnessing. While he was supposed to be learning how to perform and navigate fame, he was instead absorbing the darker sides of the industry, sex, power, manipulation, all before he was even old enough to drive. The fact that this was normalized, that a major publication once printed this account without raising alarms, speaks volumes about the era and the unchecked power of industry titans like Diddy. And now, with Justin Bieber also stepping forward to corroborate unsettling experiences from his own youth around Diddy, we're left to ask, how many more were exposed to the same environment and stayed silent? How many more are still hiding their truth?
I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle,
right?
And I saw it, and it was. But I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
Usher has since looked back on those early years with a mixture of curiosity, discomfort, and clarity, recognizing that what he experienced as a teenager was far from a typical mentoring relationship. Thrust into an adult world before he was old enough to fully understand it, he found himself constantly surrounded by powerful industry giants and the chaotic lifestyles that came with them. What once felt like exciting, outrageous stories of a young artist finding his way now carry a much darker weight, especially as disturbing allegations against Sean Diddy Combs continue to surface. In hindsight, Usher's time at what was famously dubbed Flavor Camp wasn't just about developing as an artist. It was about surviving an environment charged with pressure, blurred boundaries, and unchecked power. The mentorship he received wasn't limited to vocal lessons and studio sessions. It came wrapped in a world where the line between business and personal life was nearly non-existent. Behind the scenes, Usher was absorbing far more than musical technique. He was witnessing a version of the industry that most never see, let alone talk about. And now, as a father himself, Usher has been candid. He would never let his own son go through what he went through. He's even joked, more seriously than not, that Puffy Camp is the last place he'd ever send his kid. Despite going on to become one of the biggest names in R&B, Usher's reflections suggest that the cost of that early exposure ran deep. And as these revelations continue to unfold, they shine a harsh light on the hidden pressures young artists face when they're thrown into a high-stakes, high-risk industry at such a vulnerable age. The question now isn't just what Usher went through, but how many others are carrying similar stories in silence.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
Think about it. A 14-year-old boy living in an environment that was anything but normal. And it's not just Usher who's hinted at the troubling realities of that time. Others who were around back then have painted an equally unsettling picture. Take Ed Lover, for example, a respected hip-hop personality who once recalled seeing young Usher at a nightclub, drinking straight from a bottle while hanging out with Diddy. Let that sink in. A child, still barely a teenager, in a club, in the care of one of the most powerful men in music. That story alone raises serious questions about what else may have been going on behind closed doors, where cameras weren't rolling and no one was watching. The speculation only deepens when you revisit Usher's Essence magazine cover story. During what was supposed to be a lighthearted conversation about music and his acting career, Usher grew visibly guarded the moment the topic shifted to his time living with Diddy. Instead of opening up, he paused and carefully said he'd save some of that for my book one day, a vague but chilling hint that there's much more he hasn't yet revealed. And then came a line that sent chills down readers' spines. There was a lot of that. Coming from someone as polished, media-trained, and careful as Usher, that kind of cryptic admission is hard to ignore. And in today's climate, with Diddy facing explosive allegations and legal scrutiny, it's impossible not to wonder, how much darker is the story Usher hasn't told? Fans and insiders alike are worried because historically, those who've dared to speak openly or write books about their time with Diddy haven't always come out unscathed. Usher's early years under Diddy's mentorship weren't just intense. They were chaotic, emotionally loaded, and likely crossed boundaries no child should be exposed to. And if Usher really does choose to tell his full story one day, it won't just be another celebrity memoir. It could be a key piece in unraveling a far more disturbing legacy, one that's finally being forced into the light.
Brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like that's how, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes.
Now that Diddy's high-profile trial is officially underway, the truth is unraveling fast, and what's being exposed is darker, more twisted, and far more disturbing than anyone ever imagined. The walls are closing in, and the secrets spilling out of the Diddy camp aren't just shocking, they're chilling. What was once dismissed as rumor is now being backed up by mounting testimonies and damning evidence. And if you thought the Cassie lawsuit in 2023 was explosive, buckle up, because it was just the beginning. Cassie's lawsuit rocked the industry when she accused Diddy of coercing her into disturbing and degrading situations, including being forced to engage in acts with male employees while he allegedly watched. These weren't one-off incidents. According to her suit, they were part of a grotesque, ritual-like pattern insiders called the freak-offs. At the time, many thought the claims were too extreme to be true. But now, as court documents and insider statements emerge, Cassie's allegations are lining up almost too perfectly. And here's the most disturbing part. She wasn't the only one. More voices are beginning to come forward, each one painting a darker, more damning picture of life behind the velvet curtain of Diddy's empire. The reckoning is here, and it's just getting started.
Had to be for both of them, they was in the room. Right?
You're right.
It's a freak-off section. Right? She said it's a freak-off section. If she says a freak-off section, brother, she ain't the only one freaking off. The ain't the only one freaking off.
According to Cassie, they were an organized, long-running part of Diddy's private world. This wasn't random debauchery. These alleged encounters involved elaborate planning, costumes, masquerade masks, and lingerie. They didn't just happen behind closed doors at one home. No, these so-called freak-offs allegedly spanned luxury hotels across the country and Diddy's multiple residences. And they weren't spontaneous. They were ritualistic. Diddy reportedly recorded everything. Cassie shared one particularly disturbing detail. Diddy allegedly insisted she wear white nail polish during these encounters. Why? To create a striking visual contrast between her nails and the dark skin of the black men he reportedly hired for her to sleep with. This wasn't just exploitation. It was racially charged control on a chilling level. But perhaps even more disturbing, Cassie wasn't the only one. In her lawsuit, she claimed she was often forced to participate in these freak-offs with male workers. She even admitted to deleting explicit videos from her phone, but Diddy allegedly told her not to worry because he still had the copies. Let that sink in. He didn't just control her physically, he controlled her digitally, her privacy, her choices, her footprint. He wasn't just orchestrating these encounters, he was archiving them. Enter Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard. For years, Gene tried to warn the public. Most people brushed him off, labeled him bitter, unstable, or a conspiracy theorist. But now, he's being vindicated. Everything he described, costumes, cameras, high-profile settings, and Diddy acting, like a twisted director, has started surfacing in sworn legal testimony. It's no longer gossip. It's corroboration, a mosaic of control, coercion, and exploitation hiding in plain sight under the guise of fame and power. And the receipts? They just keep dropping. And then there's the whispers, rumors that have echoed in the industry for years. That Diddy is on the DL, the down low. That his private life is far darker, far more secretive than his public persona. These weren't just rumors from blogs. Former insiders, anonymous stories, and even first-hand accounts have been hinting at a disturbing double life. Stories people once laughed off are now being reconsidered because the puzzle pieces are finally connecting. Cassie's claims, Gene Deal's decades-old warnings, and now, Suge Knight. In a November 2024 prison call interview with Michael Franzese, the co-founder of Death Row Records made some bold accusations. Suge claimed that not only did Diddy share a bed with a young Usher, but that what was done to Usher was also done to Justin Bieber. He said, "Worst part about it is everybody said what was done to Usher, and they've done it to Justin Bieber. That bombshell hit hard, but he didn't stop there. Suge said that when he first met Usher, Diddy's own associates warned him, don't get too close. They allegedly told Suge that Diddy had a thing for Usher, that their relationship wasn't just business, it was something much deeper. Suge even recalled a moment where someone allegedly described them as boyfriends. And what's worse? Suge says Usher's own mother and others knew, but stayed quiet. Why? Because they didn't want Usher to be known as the guy by Puffy. They wanted money, fame, success. Suge Knight wasn't just pointing fingers at Diddy, he criticized Usher and Snoop Dogg too for staying silent amid the storm. He expressed disappointment, especially in Usher, who he saw as a talented young black artist who deserved better. But in Suge's eyes, Usher enabled the cycle. He knew what Diddy had allegedly done to him, and yet he introduced Justin Bieber to the same environment. Suge framed it as tragic irony, the abused becoming the inadvertent enabler. And here's where it gets even stranger. In September 2024, as lawsuits and headlines exploded around Diddy, fans noticed something odd. Usher wiped his entire social media presence clean. Every post, every tweet on X, formerly Twitter, gone. He claimed it was a hack. But the timing? Too suspicious to ignore. Was it damage control? A strategic move to erase any visible ties to Diddy? Was he trying to protect his reputation or preparing to finally speak out? Because in this climate, silence isn't just silence, it's a statement. Insiders believe Usher is under immense pressure. He's a veteran of the industry with a squeaky clean image, but now he's caught in the blast radius of one of the most disturbing scandals the music world has ever seen. There's even talk he may be working on a memoir. Usher has hinted in the past that there are things he's saving for the book. But the question is, will he ever really open up? Or is the risk too great? After all, history hasn't been kind to those who speak out against Diddy. But if anyone knows what really happened behind those closed doors, it's Usher. So what do you think? Are these stories just smoke? Or is there finally enough fire to burn down the illusion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a weekly update, where we pull back the curtain on your favorite celebrities. The truth is finally catching up to Diddy, and this might just be the beginning. He wouldn't be Usher. He'd be known as the guy by Puffy. That's what Suge Knight said, and according to him, that's why Usher's people allegedly chose silence over truth, because protecting his image, his career, and his fame was more important than exposing the man behind it all. That man? Diddy. This chilling statement highlights an uncomfortable truth. In the music industry, money and success often come at a cost, sometimes a horrifying one. According to Suge Knight, this isn't new. It didn't start with Usher or Justin Bieber, or even Diddy. It goes all the way back to legends like Michael Jackson. Suge claims that exploitation is a pattern, a cycle that gets passed down, artist to artist, generation to generation. And the saddest part? Usher may have been both a victim and an enabler. Suge Knight didn't hold back. He alleged that despite what Usher endured under Diddy's mentorship, he still played a key role in introducing Justin Bieber to that same world, a world full of power imbalances, blurred boundaries, and alleged abuse. Suge called it ironic and tragic that someone who suffered might unknowingly lead someone else down the same dangerous path. Think about that for a second. Usher, mentored by Diddy at a young age. Then Usher becomes a mentor to Justin. And the cycle begins again. Suge Knight made it clear he holds no hate for Usher. He called him a good young man who deserved better. But he also made it clear intent doesn't erase impact. And if Usher knew what Diddy was capable of, but still allowed that door to open for Bieber, then some of that responsibility, like it or not, rests on his shoulders. This raises deeper, uncomfortable questions. Can someone be both a survivor and an enabler? What do mentorship and loyalty look like in an industry driven by silence and control, and when does protecting your legacy become complicity? Now, here's where things get even stranger. In September 2024, just as lawsuits and allegations against Diddy started making headlines, Usher completely wiped his Twitter DX profile. Every tweet, every photo, every memory, gone. He claimed his account had been hacked. But fans and insiders weren't buying it, because the timing, too perfect. Right as Diddy's empire began to crack, Usher vanished from his own timeline. No trace of his relationship with Diddy, no visible connection, no posts, just silence. Was it damage control? Was he trying to quietly cut ties before the storm hit him directly, or was he preparing for something bigger? There's been buzz, whispers, in the industry that Usher might be working on a memoir, a tell-all book, something that finally exposes what he saw, what he lived through, and what happened behind the scenes during his early years with Diddy. He's even hinted at it before, saying, "Some things I'm saving for my book." But here's the thing. Silence speaks volumes. And in this climate, staying quiet feels like strategy. Because everyone knows, when you speak out about Diddy, things get dangerous. Usher's digital disappearance has fans divided. Some believe he's protecting himself from guilt by association. Others think he's afraid of the truth, of the backlash, or of being implicated in a story that's no longer just whispered rumors but the subject of lawsuits, testimony, and public outcry. But whether he's preparing to speak or just trying to disappear, one thing is certain. Usher knows what happened. He was there. And if anyone can tell the real story about Diddy, about the industry, about the hidden cost of fame, it's him. So what do you think? Is Usher just trying to protect himself, or is he gearing up to finally break his silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked this video, click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss another update. Post videos like this every week, peeling back the curtain on your favorite celebrities and exposing the stories they don't want you to hear. Because the truth? It's catching up to everyone. And this story is far from over.